Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Bail application for murder accused Constable Noel Maitland set for August 22. Keep the gas tax. Analysts weigh in on the discussion. And later in sports, West Indies face New Zealand in second T20 International at Savannah Park. I'm Shane Masters. Here are the details. Constable Noel Maitland, who has been charged with the murder of social media personality Donna-lee Donaldson, was remanded when he appeared in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court this morning. He is to return to court on August 22 for bail application. When the matter was called up, the prosecution served Constable Maitland's attorney, Christopher Townsend, with a preliminary report. The prosecutor told the court that statements are still outstanding. Constable Maitland was charged on August 2 following an investigation by the Major Investigation Division. Ms. Donaldson's body has not been found. However, investigators say they have forensic evidence to show that she was killed in the policeman's apartment and her body later dumped. At least two financial experts believe the gas tax should remain in place for more long-term benefits. Their response comes as Jamaicans call for a reduction of the gas tax. More in this report. The latest RGR Gleaner Don Anderson poll revealed that 63% of Jamaicans feel the tax on gas is not necessary. 86% of the Jamaican population said the government should lower the gas tax because of the increase in oil prices. But according to financial commentator and chartered accountant Dennis Chung, Jamaica needs the money from the tax, and if it's reduced or eliminated, the money would have to be found elsewhere.
I am thinking about the longer term impact on the foreign exchange rate. Fact of the matter is that we don't produce oil. And if you were to reduce that tax and the demand goes up, then it is going to have an impact on your foreign exchange rate. And, it's like the argument people said, don't increase interest rates. But if you did not increase interest rates and the foreign exchange rate moved, the effect could have been a lot worse, right? And that is the thing. I mean, I think there are other things to do to lessen the impact, and which can be lessened significantly if we're serious about it from a policy perspective. But definitely reducing the tax on something that's imported, that we don't produce, is not the way to go.
In addition to the markups at gas stations, there is a special consumption tax, SCT, added to each litre of petrol, plus a 10% ad valorem tax. Development economist and financial commentator Dr. Chris Stokes warns that reducing the gas tax is a short-term measure which would only cause hardships later. However, he is hopeful that if it stays in place, Jamaica should soon see better days.
We must not forget that we need to get our debt to GDP down. I would love to see 45, 50. I'd settle for 60. But to the extent that we keep compromising our ability to raise taxes and to bring down that debt and stay disciplined, we are just kicking the can down the road in terms of national suffering, lack of fiscal space, lack of ability to invest in roads and in the renewable energies that we're talking about, and my favorite, education. Right? And at the same time, as I pointed out, the prices are coming down, of crude oil in particular. So I'm optimistic that there will be some relief week to week, month to month going forward.
For several years, the opposition People's National Party, PNP, has been calling for the gas tax to be removed. That call grew louder in the last 2 years due to the economic pressure from the COVID-19 pandemic and the increases in gas prices locally. But the government is insistent on keeping the tax. The Caribbean Examinations Council, CXC, has announced that candidates will be able to access their preliminary results online on September 5. It says results for the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination, CAPE, Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, CSEC, and Caribbean Certificate of Secondary Level Competence, CCSLC, will be available on that date. Regional ministers of education will receive the preliminary results on September 1 to review and provide feedback in preparation for a joint meeting of ministers on September 2. In instances where requests for early release of results were made, Preliminary results will also be made available to universities at the same time as the ministries of education to facilitate the matriculation of candidates. The CXC had projected that the results would be released in late August or the first week of September after the exams were pushed back by 3 weeks. The exams were initially set to start on May 2, but were delayed until May 23 after Jamaica's Education Ministry and others appealed to CXC to give students more time to prepare, given the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres wants everyone to be included in world development plans, especially the young and older generation. His call comes as the globe celebrates International Youth Day under the theme Intergenerational Solidarity, Creating a World for All Ages.
When young people are shut out of the decisions being made about their lives, or when older people are denied the chance to be heard, we all lose. Solidarity and collaboration are more essential than ever as our world faces a series of challenges that threaten our collective future. From COVID-19 to climate change, to conflicts, poverty, inequality and discrimination, we need all hands on deck to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and build the better, more peaceful future we all seek.
He also called for more support of educational and skills training for young people.
We also need to support gender equality and expanded opportunities for young people to participate in civic and political life. It's not enough to listen to young people. We need to integrate them into decision-making mechanisms at the local, national, and international levels. This is at the heart of our proposal to establish a new youth office at the United Nations. And we need to ensure that older generations have access to social protection and opportunities to give back to their communities and share the decades of lived experience they have accumulated.
The Jamaica Library Service, JLS, is this afternoon re-emphasizing the importance of reading. Speaking at a recent handover and contract signing ceremony for its reading program, Senior Director at the JLS, Kishma Simpson, attributed reading to developing a nation of greatness. Sandra Williams reports.
The Jamaica Library Service JLS is reporting a 41% increase in the number of applications for its flagship program, the National Reading Competition. Like many other initiatives, the 35-year-old program took a hit from the COVID-19 pandemic. But Senior Director of the Jamaica Library Service, Kishma Simpson, says since the relaxation of COVID restrictions, this year there were more than 1,600 registrations for the reading program.
So despite the odds where we would have pre-COVID level had well over 4,000 competitors each year, and with COVID this year we are back up to over 1,600, which represents over 41% increase when we were hit by COVID. We are very, very proud that our competition stood the test of time.
In 2020, there was a significant drop in the number of participants due to the widespread impact of COVID-19.
But we were able to still engage our readers island-wide, and we were successful in administering the competition in 2020 and also last year. So we are very elated that we can boast that the competition endured COVID and that we were not defeated and that we did not miss a year. That is very significant for us, that we still were able to administer this competition over the 2 years that we have had COVID.
The competition caters to participants 6 years and older. The Victoria Mutual Foundation has donated $1 million in support of the program as part of efforts to ramp up literacy island-wide. Meanwhile, Ms. Simpson stressed the importance of reading among all age groups across the island.
Perhaps undervalue the importance of reading and sometimes interpret reading to be just about reading a novel, reading a book, but it goes well beyond that and is the cornerstone to any area of development. We talk about financial literacy and reading, critical thinking that you would have engaged in with our national reading competition is a part of the development process for you to apply across any discipline.
This year's competition is being held under the theme, Reigniting a Nation to Read. The announcement and award ceremony is scheduled for August 26. Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
Superintendent of Works in the St. Mary Municipal Corporation, Drandon Miles, has been given 2 months to find a solution to the contamination of water supply systems in the parish identified by the Health Department. Chairman of the Municipal Corporation, Richard Query, gave the ultimatum following yesterday's revelation that a number of water supply systems monitored by the corporation is deemed bacteriologically unsafe. Chief Health Inspector for St. Mary, Rupert Stevens, further disclosed at the monthly meeting of the Municipal Corporation that since last year, 12 of the water supply systems have consistently presented unsafe reports. Mr. Query stated that it was unacceptable that the report from the Health Department on water quality was not improving.
Well, I am very concerned that 16 or 42 of our systems are not biologically safe. That is a serious matter. And we keep, it's a perennial problem. Every month we come and we hear the same report and we're not getting any improvements this time. So I would like to hear from you, what are we doing to improve this? I want to come here, probably, let me give you 2 months, by October. We should come here and hear that it's 1 or 2 or 5.
Meanwhile, residents of Riverhead in St. Thomas are concerned that the lack of potable water and bad roads are stifling developments in their community. Residents recently protested, demanding that the authorities address their water issues, or else they will stop the flow of water which supplies Kingston and St. Andrew from the Yalis River in St. Thomas.
We depend on rainfall up here to do farming, and we not get that amount of rain anymore. And with the old people, they might get all where do farming. The young ones, they might get educated. And then gone because they don't have access to internet service, they don't have access to road, they don't have access because for them vehicle then drive. They not bring them on them road here.
A returning resident also explained that he doesn't travel to the areas often because of the poor road conditions and water issues. The National Water Commission said it's been working to improve water supply in the area, but residents say it's not enough. And it's now time for the Business Minute.
In the world of business, Caribbean EdTech company One-on-One Educational Services has reserved 30 million shares in its initial public offer IPO for members of the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA. Members of the JTA are in a prime position to take up 1.58% of the shareholding of the company. The JTA has already commenced the distribution of share certificates to its over 20,000 members to allow teachers to take up 1,500 shares each. The offer opens today, August 12, via the Sagicor e-Invest platform. And in business internationally, the average price of U.S. retail gasoline fell below $4 per gallon on Thursday. According to the American Automobile Association, the national average price for regular unleaded gas fell to $3.99 a gallon. Gasoline prices peaked at a record $5.02 in June. And coming up in the Business Review this Sunday, we hear the story of how one model is stepping into opportunities by launching her own modeling agency. That's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
Time now for the top regional and international stories with Sandy Williams.
In regional news, Bermuda police say they have broken up a major drug trafficking ring after seizing drugs with a street value of $500,000 in raids on 5 houses. The drugs are suspected to be cocaine, heroin, ecstasy, and cannabis. Officers also netted $25,000 in cash, removed 8 illegal dogs, and made 6 arrests. On the international scene, Hong Kong's Census and Statistics Department says the city's total population has fallen by 1.6% from 7.41 million people to 7.29 million people. It's the steepest decline since the government began tracking figures in 1961. The authorities say some of it is a natural decrease, but experts say the figures also reflect an exodus that has accelerated in the past few years amid periods of massive social upheaval, to include anti-government protests and the coronavirus pandemic. And And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, have a good afternoon.